die, didn't he? Well, God didn't create him to die. When Adam sinned, he changed his very being in ways that we only have some clues, and some I don't think we're even starting to get there yet. But
you think it's in the DNA, where the DNA changes?
No, but that's a real weak no. The thing is, hey, listen, way back there somewhere, I don't know, okay? Someone was talking about how people just aren't honest, and when they don't know, they won't say it. You know, they blah, blah, blah for a half hour and never admit they don't know, and people get so wearisome. Boy, he must have got the answer in there somewhere. He talked long enough. But I don't know. But I don't think so. But my think so isn't real good, so don't go anywhere with it. The thing is, DNA has we have learned so much recently that we have learned we don't know what we thought we knew. That's true. We used to think one gene, one protein. We know now one gene will make 10 proteins. We used to think here's a gene from here to here. It turns out what we thought was a gene from here to here, this much will make a protein, this much will make another one, over here makes another one, and a piece of this will work way over or a piece of someone over there and make another one. It's got complexities we never imagined. And the DNA is wrapped around these histone molecules, and it turns out they're part of the inheritance. We had no idea that was going to happen. We have strings of, we used to call them junk DNA. You'd find strings of repeating letters. You know, DNA's 4 letters. CTAG. So you get a CT, hundreds of them. And they look at that and say, wow, that's got to be worthless. Well, what would you do with C2, CT? Well, I'd play with it, I guess. But God's doing stuff with it. It turns out that CT that we thought couldn't possibly have a function is doing all kinds of stuff. See, when we call those pseudogenes and junk genes, we were given it a name in terms of of the evolutionary paradigm that most people think they have to operate with. And they see all this stuff that couldn't possibly have a function. Well, that's some genetic holdover. That's a bunch of useless duplication or something. So they gave it an evolutionary explanation and gave it a name that fits that explanation. They call it junk genes and pseudogenes. It's not junk. A creationist would have said from the start, I don't know what it does, but it ain't junk. You know? See, now that's where we come in and do with some real science. We can make a prediction. You know, all scientists say, well, science got to make predictions. Hey, there's a prediction. That is not a junk gene. And that's not a pseudogene over here. It turns out we're right. So I don't know where our sinful nature is. It might be in the DNA. You know, they're trying to explain, see, I'm so skeptical. They want to explain drunkenness in DNA, sodomy in DNA, and, you know, your smoking habits and everything. And what that all amounts to is, hey, I committed a crime. It's not my fault. My genes made me do it. How can you dare put me in jail? That's where they're going with this. See? But look, God says we are accountable for what we do. Then it can't be locked up somewhere where we don't have anything to do about it. You understand? It can't be in something that we have no power over, no control over. So, I don't think it's DNA. I don't. But I don't know a whole lot of genetics. I can't say. But as far as my own man and what I think, I don't think so. And if you ask me what I think, I'll tell you what I think. Sure. So, anyway. Anybody else have an idea on that?
How about we take a break and then we'll finish the second one?
All right. Listen, I'm free to talk to anybody up here anyway. So, y'all take a break.
10 minutes, be back. All of you.
Asked a very good question, and I covered this in another talk in which I explained how I got the 40 arguments I used and how I arranged them and all. But the question was, doesn't the same thing I say apply to the Muslim God, Allah? Yes, it does. Most of them do, but not all of them. Well, okay, let's do it this way. I have 20 arguments that biblical theists use to argue for God. One of those is 10 different ways the Bible supports the existence of the God of the Bible. All right, that argument doesn't hold up for Allah. Okay? And several of the others that biblical theists use to support the existence of God don't either. But many of them do, and I can't think of any of the arguments against God in which the rebuttals don't support the Muslim God also. When atheists argue against God, they're not talking about Baal and Thor and Osiris. They're talking about Jehovah. Now, to some small extent, they will talk about Allah. But their big problem is with Jehovah, because Jehovah has a record. He's got all of Western civilization, 2,000 years of Western civilization, and the credentials that produced, the institutions and the United States, like Brian said, we are a Bible-based country. When you see those kind of institutions and the success they've had, sure, there's been failures within, but the overall success, that's a strong argument for God. That God must be real. All right, Allah doesn't have anything like the United States to his credentials. You see? So there are several strengths, several of the arguments that do not apply to Allah, but many of them do. Okay, does that, I don't remember where it was. And somebody asked for the website where this stuff is, and someone said they would give it out if I ask. Is that person here?